And we are back with another episode of From the Rafters. Sam and I are here recording on Monday, January 17th. And things are looking up again. I say hesitantly because I don't want to jinx it, but this is probably the best basketball the Celtics have been playing in a long while, right? In terms of at least wins.
Yeah, and well, they played a bunch of bad teams.
Okay,
this is we did our predictions a couple episodes
and I
ago
have
towards
them.
the beginning of the month. I am 100% besides the two games that they crap themselves in, Spurs and Knicks.
Let me find those. We can kick
I've
off
not
the show
missed.
with that. Let me
What'd you
see.
say?
When was that? I said we can kick off the show with like seeing where we're at right now. I mean, it's only been like a week or so, but
It was before the Spurs game because they'd already won.
All right.
A couple games.
Can't find it there. It must have been under podcasts. Was it the third? Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yep. So I predicted. What game did they just play? They just played New Orleans, and you had them being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7-1.
Yep.
And I had them being 6-2, and they're 5-3 or 6-2.
Yeah. 5-3.
5-3.
Philly,
which I mean,
Knicks,
not
Spurs.
ideal, but not bad. It's improved.
They really should have won the Knicks and Spurs game. I mean, Philly, they just got their ass handed to them.
I agree, but since that first Knicks game, things have looked a lot better. They've won, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their last 6 at this point, and that, like you said, the Philly game being the only dud in there. That's progress, man. I mean, I've seen a lot of things, and like you said it at the start of the episode, they've played quote unquote bad teams, whatever. They shouldn't have to be fighting. They shouldn't have to be fighting with these teams in the fourth quarter. But I mean, regardless of that, the point is they're showing up in the fourth quarter. That itself is progress. Like you got to look at the positives. You can't sit here all season and say like, oh, they suck, like they stink. At least they're getting better. You can't, like, if you sit here and talk about the negatives all season, you're gonna have a bad time. And then at that point, you're just looking to have a bad time. Look at the positives. The team is growing. When there are positives, take the chance to appreciate them. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Sean Grandy put it out yesterday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was like before the last week or so, they were 11 or 2-11 in games decided by 5 or less. Last week they are 2-0, Pacers and Chicago.
Yep.
So that's progress. The Pacers game, they squandered a lead. However, they did close the regulation, and obviously they won in overtime, but they closed regulation on a bit of a run to get themselves in position to tie the game, and they did. Tatum hit a big shot. They went in overtime, won. Chicago, that was a back and forth game. They were up a little bit early, but I mean, you never really, especially like it wasn't like a massive lead. It was maybe like 10 or 12 or something like that.
It was 12, I think.
12.
It was 12.
Okay, and then they nearly give that one away.
They did.
They
tried.
Didn't play horrible in the fourth quarter. Really, it was just like Chicago.
The last couple minutes
better.
The last couple minutes they played real well. They closed the game on an 8-0.
And then the last couple minutes, absolutely. Like they played well, and they closed the game on an 8-0 run, which I don't know is something they've done at all this season. Like they've really had a strong close to a game that was convincing to win in regulation. Like even if you want to like point fingers, okay, the Pacers game they probably closed pretty well. The Magic game, they closed well with Jaylen Brown getting 50. The first Knicks game, they closed pretty well in regulation to force overtime, but they obviously didn't win.
Yep.
Like, there have been little spurts of games where they've been all right at the end, but it's had to go to overtime.
And they usually don't win them.
And they don't win those. Now they're starting to put it together a little bit. Like, that Chicago's down Caruso, Lonzo Ball, Levine. Yeah. And it's absolutely true. Yep. But DeRozan has been the hottest guy in the league probably in the fourth quarter. They had to deal with him. He had 14 fourth quarter points. He was making everything. They made adjustments. Vucevic was fantastic. Might have been the best guy on the floor all day.
Mm-hmm.
And they closed that game. Did Chicago get 2 wide open looks on the last possession? Absolutely, they did. But they did not make them. So the Celtics walked away with a win. Rob Williams might have had the last 6 points. And
know he
if
had the
not
last
the
four.
last 6, he had 6 of the last 8 because he made 4 free throws and he had lob dunk.
Yep. Big.
But
big
he was
possessions from
clutch at the line. 66% for the year, made all 4. Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that stuck out to me in the Chicago game was Tatum was not like great, but he had a really big block down the stretch in fourth.
He was
fourth quarter.
phenomenal on defense.
Yeah,
he was great on defense.
That was like another like silver lining to that game, even though they won, so it doesn't necessarily need a silver lining. But another positive you can take away from that is he looked really engaged, and you could see the effort was there. You know, they went into Philly, they got mopped, like it was really bad. They came out kind of hot, and then after that, like 25-2, 26-2 or something like that, the run, it was never close again. They came out, played differently Saturday against Chicago, played well today against New Orleans. They came out slow as expected in the matinee. I don't know what Tim had to say on the pregame.
In both of them, they came out slow. They came out slow in both of them.
Yep.
Tim mentioned the matinee game and the pregame, but they've actually won their only matinee game this year. It was the Suns game, so
which was the Suns.
Wasn't much to say. But that Philly game, I was actually out to dinner with my dad, my sister, and my sister's boyfriend, right? So I started the game on my phone because they didn't have it on any of the TVs, which was it was at Chili's, which was egregious. Like,
really? How do you not? You can just ask them, like, hey, put the game on?
We did. But that's my point. I started on the TV. They had like Manhattan versus a different college on the TV instead. So we were like, turn that off. Like, what? So we had them put it on, and I had to me and my dad switched sides of the booth so we could watch the game. By the time they put it on the TV instead of my phone, the Celtics were down like 18. It was a mess. Like I had nothing. I couldn't watch too closely, obviously, because I was out at dinner with family. But I saw on my phone Grant looks terrible, and I hated that. Hated to see that. Obviously, I mean, you can look at the box score and see how bad Schroder was. Like even the box score watchers know. It was just a mess. Like no one played well that night, from what I'm aware. I caught a couple clips afterwards, but
Brown was okay.
Not ideal.
He had a nice stretch. Pritchard was good.
Not the way you want to play, though, overall. Obviously,
bad game.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Which happens.
Mm-hmm.
But with this team, it doesn't feel like it's one of those things where it happens. It seems like it's more of the routine. But they've won 5 out of 6.
Yep.
Grant bounced back, if not yet on Saturday, definitely today. Had a quick 8-0 run by himself in the first quarter today.
Oh,
electric.
Boy.
Back-to-back threes, comes down, throws down a dunk.
Should have seen me, man. And that second 3 was like not even a Grant 3. It was like a real 3. If you know, I mean, they're all real. You know what I'm saying? You know, it was like pull up on the wing. You know, looked off the pass, confident. I love Grant Williams, man, and I see it all the time on Twitter. You know, I said something about Grant on Twitter. Someone replied, "Grant just sucks. I'm sorry. You have to hear it from me." Or what did it even say? Let me go look at my replies because it was one of the most.
I don't know why
things.
People still like think he sucks. Like,
yeah,
he's definitely
I replied,
not like a bad player. He plays good defense.
No,
he's pretty reliable from 3. He's kind of cooled off a little bit over the last week or so, but that happens.
Mm-hmm. I was replying to Keith's tweet. Someone said like. Grant, like he's never been any better than the day he was drafted or something, and Keith was like you keep being wrong, it's working out for you. And I said the unwavering Grant haters are my least favorite version of fans. Just say you don't watch the game, please. Someone responded to me saying Grant Williams blows, sorry that's hard for you. And it's just like, tell me you don't watch the games without telling me you don't watch the games. Like how are you getting? He's legitimately been probably the 6th best player on the team this year, one of the top 3 most consistent, right? And he even had a slump, and I can still say that confidently.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And you know, I'm gonna call him out because hopefully we can have him back on the show soon. Timmy G, man, I'm gonna keep fighting you, friend of the show, you know, good buddy of ours. Love him, love you, Timmy G. We appreciate you. I don't get it. I'm gonna have to pick your brain next time we have you on the show. Hopefully it's soon. But yeah, I need to, because he tweeted at me during the 8-0 run. Like he was like, Jack, how you doing after the 8-0 run? And I mean, it's all in good fun. Like it is what it is. But like, come on, man, how you wouldn't even call him by his name. I respect his
commitment to disliking Grant.
I suppose. I don't know.
Al Horford was also great today.
That's what I was gonna
very much in the second half, but
that's what I was gonna bring up. Udoka closed the game with freedom over Al Horford.
Well, it never really got close after that. You know,
but still, like, you're leaving the starters in. obviously Al's on the decline. Like, I mean, you can see it, and he started off the season
he doesn't
so
need to
hot.
be out there logging extra minutes at this point.
Yeah, I guess.
He gave you a really good first half. He made some threes today.
He hit a couple threes. He did.
That'll come back. I just can't imagine.
I don't know.
It's just a jump shot. It's not like he's not dunking on people anymore. It's like, oh yeah, he's gonna start dunking on people all of a sudden.
I know,
like,
but it hasn't really been there all season. Like, it was a little bit to start the year, but it's just, I don't know. And he does. The thing is, I don't think Horford has to be an elite 3-point shooter to be effective. In order to be effective on the Celtics, maybe, like, because you need that shooting, but that's just because they don't have any shooters in general outside of Grant and, Josh Richardson or Dennis Schroder every third game for some reason, because he just gets hot. And that's something else I wanted to talk about. I wrote my first edition of the Celtics Sunday Notebook. I'm just going to be like throwing my thoughts in an article for Bannertown. And a section of it was Dennis Schroeder's highs and lows, right? Because you look at last week being Pacers, Sixers, Bulls, right? First Pacers game, Smart was there, but Schroeder was horrendous. He didn't make a shot, right? Second Pacers game was phenomenal. Scored like 20-something points, had some assists, shot efficiently. Sixers game, didn't make a shot, had 1 point throughout the whole night. And then you look at the Bulls and the Pelicans games, and he was phenomenal again. Yep. So it's confusing to me because I've seen both sides of it. I've seen, the side I usually take is, Schroeder can only be effective when this player, or this player is on the court. Like, I was saying it to myself today when I was getting frustrated. Schroeder is a fine second option. He's even an okay third option, but he's not the fourth option. He cannot be the fourth option because if you have Smart, you have Jalen, and you have Marcus on the floor. And I'm not saying that Schroeder should be a fourth scoring option over Marcus. I'm saying if you have those other three guys on the floor, the ball is going to be there in their hands over Schroeder for the majority of the time. And you can't play Smart and Schroeder together. You've seen that. But at the same time, Schroeder has played really well over the past week outside of those two games, but those two games have been so bad that it's confusing. And I don't know if you saw the clip of Schroeder after today's game. I'm assuming you did.
I didn't get to see much after the game. I worked today.
Okay, so Gary Washburn basically asked him, you had a rough game here, good game here, blah, blah, blah. You're starting to get comfortable. And Schroeder clapped back at him. He was like, very feisty. I want to find a quote so I don't misconstrue.
Well, you look for that. If I'm going to hypothesize, the first bad game you can attribute it, him and Smart don't play well together because they kind of have to play similar to be effective. But also, this doesn't really equate for the second Pacers game, but they have Miles Turner in the paint. He's a decent rim protector. Same with Embiid. They really struggled Friday because they did not want to go inside against him. So I personally think Schroeder's the best when he's able to get to the rim because he's quick. And when he has to play against those big guys that block shots, he struggles.
Sorry, yeah, I was just finding it. So Gary Washburn essentially said, like, are you starting to feel comfortable? And he said, like, what are you talking about? Like, that's a stupid question. Next question. He goes, are you from Philly or do you work for Boston? He goes, I cover the Celtics. He goes, well, that's a stupid question. What do you want? And he goes, well, you played, he said, like, did I not play well enough tonight? And he goes, no, you played fine. I'm just asking if you're comfortable. He goes, well, I obviously didn't play good enough for you. Next question. And it's just like, oh, okay, Dennis.
No, this was Friday.
After the game today. No, this is today.
Oh, okay.
So, and Schroeder played great today. I'm not, like, saying Schroeder didn't play well, but Gary Washburn, obviously, like, that's obviously you're framing a question, to try to get him to talk about his struggles, which no player wants to do. And at the same time, like, Dennis is sitting there like, okay, dude, I just played well. What do you want from me? Like, why are you bringing up a bad Philly game? And Dennis was like, we all struggled that game. We didn't come out ready to play. Like, it was bad, but, I'm just happy to get a win. And he said,
which, by the way, is remarkable that they didn't come ready to play against Philadelphia. Like, that's,
yes.
And that was like something I was like hot about too.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not show up for that game? That is a big rivalry game against a team that's somewhat close to you in the standings. You need to be there, and to not come out and not respond when they go on a run is bad. However, they kind of redeemed it over the last couple games, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. But they need to be able to consistently find that fire. We've seen it in the last couple games that I would say are like big games, going back to that Lakers game in LA when they kind of fumbled it too. Like, they showed up and didn't play. Really
I'll say this. Yeah. And I'll say this, and I don't think I don't think you'll like this because I know the type of guy you are and the type of statements, like, etc. We've spoken for long enough. I don't think they give a shit about rivalries anymore, Sam. And I'm
Yeah, but
not
they should.
defending that. I know. I'm just saying, like, I don't think they're sitting out there like, oh, okay, this is the Philadelphia 76ers. We fucking hate these guys. They're just in their
that's
minds.
not
like,
even what it is.
I agree with
At
you in the
least with
sense
the
that they're close in the
76ers.
standings.
With the Lakers, it is. It is like that. That's how it should be. The Sixers is a team. This group of guys has played against in 2 playoff series and has had some incredible regular season series against. There is absolutely no way that game is meaningless to them. I
know what you mean. And in the sense of they're close in the standings, they definitely should have showed up to play better. And there's no excuse for playing like that. Like, that was probably easily one of their worst games of the season. That was bad. Anyways, we can get back on track. Celtics are in 10th place right now, Sam. They're above 500 for the first time since December 7th. Over a month. It has. They've teetered on that edge. They are now half a game back of the 8 seed, 1.5 game back to the 7 seed, and only 3 games out of the 6 seed, which is the 76ers, which, like you said, probably would have helped if they came out to play that game. But regardless, again, like we keep saying, 5-6 in the last 7, 5-1 in their last 6 games. Sorry. And they've got a chance here. I mean, the next few games, Charlotte's a good team. They're not a good defense, but they're a solid team. They're not, like, obviously upper echelon, but they're a solid team. Portland's not a good team. I'll say
Portland's bad.
Washington has been terrible lately. The Kings are not consistent. The Hawks are not consistent, although they always manage to beat up on the Celtics for some reason. And then they have the Pelicans again. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 very winnable games. Very, very winnable games.
They should not lose any of those games.
This
is the 8-0 stretch I was prophesizing. You've already got the first 2 in the bag. You have 6 more ahead of you. Take care of business. Charlotte is going to be a tough one Wednesday. Fine. Come to play. You're at home. Garden, they've been 15-8 so far this season after starting 0-3. So if you really want to go back, they're 15-5 in their last 20 at the Garden. They've been good at home. They need to come out to play. That Charlotte team is a good team. They run. They're quick. They play with energy. You have to match that. You're playing at home. Come to play.
The Celtics have the most home wins in the NBA right now.
Yeah. Come to play. Come to play. This is a big game. They're close to you in the standings, just like Philly is. Yep. Then you have Portland, bad team. Who's after that?
Washington.
Sacramento? Washington, bad. Sacramento, bad. Atlanta, bad. I mean,
you predicted an L in that game.
I did because they're at Atlanta where they have been good. But you should still come out and play.
Then New Orleans again, which, again, not a good team.
Bad.
So you got a real chance here. You got a real chance to end the month on a high note. Get things revved up for the trade deadline, which I do want to talk about in a little bit again, just because as we inch closer, we got to bring it up at least, get a little feeler, trade deadline check-in as I, said it or wrote it down in my notes. But yeah, I mean, they're looking real good. I want to talk about Ime Udoka a little bit because he's been a constant topic of conversation lately. Those quotes after the Knicks loss of, do you want me to stop momentum and call a play, etc.
Yeah, what momentum? Is what I
want me to do.
No, it's not even like the part about like if he wants like
I know
that part you don't even have to get to. It's more like what momentum do you have? You're giving up you're in the midst of giving up a 25-point lead. You don't have the momentum.
Yeah. Then there's the quote of no matter what lineup we ran out there, we wouldn't have much shooting. Meanwhile, Josh Richardson and Grant Williams sitting on the bench. And my thing is, he's gotten better, right? I would say Udoka's gotten better, is improved over this past week of basketball. I said this on the podcast with Jimmy, the quotes of saying, I just threw Josh and Grant out there for size and defense. That was a little weird to me. I think, obviously, I guess he's not going to own up to it, but he's made improvements. He hasn't played Smart and Schroder together since, really. He's taken accountability more. I mean, after the Philly game, he goes, we've got to do a better job getting our guys ready to play against a tough opponent, a rival. They're Philadelphia. They're obviously coming off a loss. They played a little harder than we did. It's on me. So he's taking, more accountability for the team's play. But overall, I think Udoka's been much better in this past week, at the very least in managing the rotations a little bit.
Well, yeah, it's tough when you have these guys in there on the lineup, like Smart's been out, but it's nice that you get to see a little bit more Pritchard, a little bit more Neesmith, and under the circumstances. Neesmith was all right today. He played hard. Nice dunk in transition.
Played a lot of the fourth quarter.
Which is good. Like, good for Neesmith. Like, he needs to be out there as much as, the game allows them to have him out there.
Yep.
If he's playing well enough to be out there, it's great. And if they have the opportunity to have him out there in a game that's not close, also great. But I like to see him play meaningful minutes. We saw last year he was able to get comfortable, and then the new season started, new coaching staff. He kind of had to start at square one again. But as far as Udoka goes, yeah, man, the rotations are nice. It's nice seeing some of these guys out there. I mean, Cantor played a lot of minutes today, but
it worked, I guess. I think you can get away.
Valanciunas, I think.
That's what I was gonna say. You can get away with playing Cantor when you're playing a big that like bangs down low a lot. You could probably see him against like Steven Adams, which is somebody we talked about before we hopped on here. But yeah, I like what Udoka's been doing. I think it's been a lot better. So shout out to him. Basically, is what I'm saying. Shout out Robert Williams as well. I just had his second child. Became a dad for the second time.
Robert Williams the fourth.
There you go. Congratulations. I think he named the kid, actually. I think it's Hendrix is the name, which is it's kind of sick name. That's kind of a dope name. I enjoy it. Maybe not by your expression, but I think it's a cool name.
No. That had nothing to do with the name.
Gotcha.
I had a cut on my leg, and
notice. I was listening to a little bit of the Garden Report though with John Zanis, Bobby Manning, Bob Manning, friend of the show, and they talked about how Wednesday's game could be a big game for Rob. National TV, which you're not gonna like, but national TV.
I don't think that means it's exclusive rights though. Like it'll still be on NBC.
It not?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Anyways, big game for Rob. Like you said, Charlotte plays with a lot of energy. They're very fast. They just beat the Knicks today. Miles Bridges put up a career high 38 points. Yes, good. So they're good. LaMelo Ball didn't play today, I don't think, or if he did, he played very limited minutes. He was he's just not feeling well, so he should be ready to go for Wednesday, of course. But yeah,
which is probably for the best because if he doesn't play, they probably screw around and lose.
Yeah, but Charlotte's a great offense. They're a horrendous defensive team. They ball watch a lot. The effort's not there. They miss rotations. They don't communicate. They're a mess on the defensive end, but their offense is a problem. So that'll be a big time Rob game because their starting center is Mason Plumlee. After that, it goes to PJ Washington, and after that, it's kind of nothing, right? They don't really. It's Nick Richards and Vernon Carey. So,
I saw that PJ Washington was potentially being shopped.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of that?
I think PJ's all right. He's solid. He
can shoot.
He can. He's shooting like 42% from three this year. I don't know if the Celtics would have anything of interest to the Hornets, who are actively trying to improve as well. So you couldn't get away with giving them
got
Smith or a Romeo
Cantor sitting around. You just talked about how they don't have any bigs down in Charlotte.
Yeah, I also talked about how the Hornets are terrible on defense, so I don't really think Cantor's the mold that they're searching for.
Saw Cantor lock up today.
Again, I don't really know about that one. I don't think they'd be of interest, but I mean, hey, if you want to start talking a little trades, I do have some stuff to it's a little trade deadline check-in. Again, we don't have to
11 games till the deadline. You've got Schroder playing well all of a sudden.
But does that mean you don't trade him? Because I don't think it does. I think you still have to trade him.
It means you better get something for him.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you saw it, that the Celtics floated, quote unquote, a trade offer at the Suns.
I did not see that. But was it Jalen Smith?
Yeah, it was Schroder for Smith. That's the trade offer they floated. Well, no, they didn't officially offer it. They were just like, this is our idea. Like, let us know.
I would do that. I would love that.
Of course. I agree with you.
See, but, that's the kind of deal, and I know it's probably not super common, like not a lot of situations where that might work, but like when I'm thinking about if you're going to get rid of Schroder, you want to do it and get something back, not just picks. Yes, Smith has an expiring, which is tough. But if you're giving up a guy that is productive for you sometimes, right? Like, he is really, really good sometimes. We've seen 3 games in the last week where he was fantastic. Okay. Don't give him up for nothing. Like, he has value to somebody.
I know. And that's exactly the point. You have to try to find the right trade. But if you can't find it, I think you still do dump him for picks. Like, I don't think you keep him for the rest of the season. And I know that's
depends
still
what you think over the next month. It depends how well he plays when Smart comes back, how well.
I don't think I even care. Because I'd still like.
Oh, I do.
If he's gone, I'd still like winning. Pritchard. You still have Pritchard though. Like,
you absolutely still have Pritchard. Pritchard might be a better fit, and I kind of agree with that. But there are things Schroder does well too. And we've seen a little bit of that.
I know.
Maybe he is getting more comfortable, even though he did not like that.
But you haven't really seen it with a fully healthy team, which is concerning to me.
Which is something you want to look for before the deadline.
Yes.
Unless you're going to get something worth it back. Now, if you get Jalen Smith back, that's fantastic because then you really don't have to play Freedom, Cantor, whatever. You know, like you really don't have to. How tall is Jalen Smith? 6'11", 6'10"?
6'10", yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so he's
6'10".
In Cantor's what, 6'11", 7 feet?
Yeah. And
so, I mean,
Smith gives you a different look too. Smith gives you a different look too.
Oh, he can shoot. Yeah, that's great. And he's a decent defender. He's been putting up good numbers recently, right? Like he's
actually maybe
rebound.
Maybe he can't shoot. He shoots 23%. So he's
do
willing to shoot. Yeah. We'll say he's willing to shoot. We'll bring back to that.
That's something they can work on. I mean, I used to always say when Brad was the coach, like, Brad typically really works on these guys, makes them better shooters. We don't know what the case is anymore. It's not his team, but
yeah. Let me look for Jalen Smith's. These are stats for the last 15 games is what I'm looking at. Last 15 games averaged 9 points, 46% from the field, 27% from 3, 7 rebounds, almost a block. So he's not bad. He's still young. The only issue with that is you have to extend him too. And I bet that there are probably going to be a lot of teams who would probably overpay for what the Celtics can pay. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is the issue with Schroder, but at the same time, like you have to weigh it as a position of need. Someone I'd still like to see, and I know I've gotten scoffed at.
Jeff Green?
I love Jeff Green, and I really genuinely think he would help the Celtics. And I know the history to some degree. Obviously, you didn't win with Jeff Green when he was in Boston, et cetera, et cetera. Jeff Green's been good for the Nuggets this year. He's been really good. And the fact that, the Celtics have already shown some interest in him, tells me that it's a possible trade. And I'll read you his stats. I'm trying to pull him up right here. Over the last 15 games, Jeff Green, I don't know why it's not popping up. This is frustrating me. He's averaging around 10 points per game, shooting around 52% from the field and 35% from 3. I mean, you talk about, quote unquote shooting with size. Obviously, he's not ideal yet. Or I'm sorry, I undersold him. 13 points a game, 57% from the field, 35% from 3, 3 rebounds, 1.5 assists, like in 25 minutes a night on 9 shots and 3 threes. That's like, those are good numbers, right? And he's obviously a veteran and he's not going to be a long-term solution. But if you're talking about a guy you could get back for Schroder and maybe also get a second, that's not a bad deal because the Nuggets don't have ball handling, right? And you look at other teams, the Mavericks, obviously, if you want to trade him for Dorian Finney-Smith, I'd love that as well because I really like Dorian Finney-Smith too. There's guys around the league, I think, that are also in similar situations that, Celtics probably wouldn't be able to re-sign them in the offseason. Jeff Green, I think, has another year on his deal after this one, but I think there are guys out there you could probably bring back for Schroder that would at least play the rest of this season and probably be a better fit on this Celtics team, at the very least, to test out what type of players you should be putting around the Jays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think if you're trading Schroder, I'd really like a player back because if you don't think Schroder's a good fit, which is fine, and there's plenty of evidence to that, you would be getting someone back you might think is a better fit. And this team needs pieces to put into the puzzle instead of, or I guess you should say round pegs for round holes instead of square pegs for round holes. Probably a better way of me putting it.
That's a good way of putting it.
Schroder might be a square peg, and that doesn't mean he's not a good fit for square holes. But Celtics might not have square holes, so you got to find some circles. And
I know exactly what you're saying. Yes, I got you. I understand. I want to play. We got a little time left in the pod. I want to play a little bit. It sounds weird. Of trade deadline bingo, Sam.
Trade deadline bingo. Okay.
Bingo might not even be the right word. I want you to tell me the type of player you'd want to see around the Jays, right? And I'm gonna look at, so you could say like, oh, ideally probably someone who shoots like this % from 3, or someone, plays this many minutes, this position, whatever. And I'm going to find you options, right? And so we're just going to do a trade deadline check-in, if you know what I'm saying. We've got a few weeks till the deadline. You tell me the type of player, I've got NBA.com pulled up. I can search stats. I can search, in the last 15 games if you want someone who's hot right now. I can search by age if you want to, get a younger player, veterans, etc. So you give me stats, and we can do it a few different times or whatever. And I'll give you some options out there. Obviously, not all of them are going to be realistic because it's just based on stats. But hit me up, and I have some filters that I can put in NBA.com, and you can, we can find some trade targets without just having to go through the big bulky list. So, what are you looking for, Sam?
Well, you're gonna have to. First one is shooting.
Okay. So
make it easier on these guys when they're trying to create shots inside the arc, trying to get to the basket. If you got shooting, defense can't collapse as much. Probably a little bit more efficient numbers from the Jays.
What's your threshold from 3 then? What do you want them shooting this season?
36, 37. Yeah.
All right, we'll throw in 37% from 3 as the target for now. Alrighty. Wow, LeBron James is shooting 37% from 3. That's kind of crazy. Didn't expect that.
Want him.
Of course. What other filters? What else you got?
Well, those players should probably be a wing, or they could play good defense.
Okay. Do we want to put it? What do we want to put in that for that then? Maybe like steals or minutes per game. How many minutes per game are you looking for this guy to play?
15, 20, maybe 25. If they're really good efficient.
So say at least 15 minutes, but less than 30 minutes because you're not really looking for a starter, right?
Right. Yeah. No, probably not.
All right, 15 to 30 minutes. Anything else? I've got 3-point percentage, the minutes threshold. You said you want a good defender. We can iron that out ourselves from the list because there's no really statistic to prove that.
No. I'm good.
That's good for stats. Any age you're looking for?
I mean, preferably younger, but it doesn't really matter.
All right.
That's something we can go.
All right. On the list, number 1, Christian Wood.
That would be fantastic, but they don't have anything to give for him.
Oh, this is the last 15 games. Let me change that.
Okay.
Christian Wood is still valid on the list, though. He's been solid this year. On the season, number 1 player on the list is Desmond Bane. That stings. That hurts. That hurts a little bit.
He surely would have got all those minutes he gets in Memphis.
It's all relative. Of course, it's all relative. Buddy Hield on the list. Obviously,
that has been the name thrown around, but I don't know. I think to get him, you're going to have to pay a lot, and I don't think they want to do it. I don't know if I do either.
Gotcha. Eric Gordon is on the list.
No, he makes... If he fit in the TPE, yes, but he doesn't.
Gotcha. Looking down here, both Kemba and Fournier are on the list. That's funny.
I would take
Kobe White's on the list.
It's an interesting one. I don't know if they're going to want to get rid of him. I mean...
They are. They're rumored to be making him available in the right trades.
I'd trade him for Schroder.
I don't know if the Bulls would be interested in that one. Cam Reddish is on the list. There you go.
That's a tough one, man. That would have been a good one for the Celtics to go get. I guess they can't extend him or pay him or whatever, but it was free, so.
Yep. Max Strus on the list for you.
Strus, there you go.
How's that? Averaging 12 this year on 42% threes.
What's Duncan Robinson doing this year? Really?
Might lose a starting spot soon.
Oh my goodness, Duncan, and he gets paid a lot of money.
He does get paid a lot.
That's too bad. I actually like him.
I do too. He's a good dude.
I legitimately like Duncan Robinson so much that I screwed up his name.
No, yeah, he's struggling. He's bringing it back. I think he's shooting like 35% from 3 now, which isn't bad, right? He's not like shooting horrendously anymore, but he's not $17 million.
I'd take him on the Celtics, but not for. How much money does he make actually?
17?
17?
Maybe 18, maybe 19. Let me look. I don't want to get your hopes up.
If
I think he might be
the good old TPE.
15.5.
15?
15.5. And then it's
I'm seeing what I can do with that TPE.
It's 15.5 this year, 16.9 the next year, 18.1 the year after that, 19.4 the year after that, and then a not fully guaranteed 19.8 in 25.
He's going to be on an Eric Gordon contract eventually.
I mean, you love Duncan Robinson, though. I know you love Duncan Robinson.
Well, he's local too. He's from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, he is.
I would like that. I don't know if you want to pay him that much money, but if he fits in the TPE. I don't know how the money works with the TPE, but I'm pretty sure that's just dead cap you have sitting around.
He does. It just means you don't have to match salary to trade for him. You can just absorb him into the TPE.
Well, wouldn't that be fantastic if they just brought in Duncan Robinson?
There you go. Who else fits under that? Doug McDermott. I don't know how open the Spurs would be to trading him, but he fits into that category. Well, the Spurs are just
really trying to win a title. So.
Yeah, my point is more that they just signed him. Let's see. Herb Jones. Celtics just played him today, but they're not going to trade him. Bryn Forbes, common name we've brought up.
It's a Jack
Bryn
guy.
Forbes. That is a me guy. I do love me some Bryn Forbes. PJ Washington, a new Sam guy maybe on the list.
I just think that would be interesting. Like he's like a solid player. He's killed the Celtics. He's big. He can shoot. He's technically like a forward, right? Like he really isn't naturally a center, but they have to use him.
Yeah, he's a 4-5.
Like that'd be pretty nice. It would be kind of tough with Grant, right?
Well, I mean, not necessarily, right? You stagger the minutes correctly, that'd be your new 4-man big rotation. It would cut Ennis out is the point. Right? That's how I see it.
If I'm the Celtics, that's something I'm looking into and seeing what they want.
Yep. Kessler Edwards is on the list, and I just wanted to bring that up because he's one of the guys at the start of the year that in the draft I was like, oh, I like this guy, and you guys are like, yeah, okay, Jack, shut the fuck up.
Well, I still don't know who he is. I'm sure his stats are nothing short of spectacular.
He's on the Nets, averaging 8 points a night in 21 games. 45% from the field, 43% from three.
Okay.
So, not too bad. Tyus Jones, a name I brought up. I don't know how willing the Grizzlies, would be willing to give him up.
I don't think the Grizzlies are really going to be looking to get rid of anybody the way they're
playing. No, they're
ain't broke.
Absurd. Do not.
Good for the Grizzlies, man.
You can't really hate on the Grizzlies, can you?
No, you
can't. You can't hate them. Shout out.
Jaw's a good player.
Yep. Kyle Guy, there's a name that the Miami Heat signed to a 10-day contract, who is now shooting 45% for three for them.
There you go.
Of course he is. Corey Joseph. Can I interest you in a Corey Joseph?
I'm still thinking about Duncan Robinson. Like, imagine him like teaching these guys to cut off the ball, like, and actually move without the ball. That'd be amazing.
He's good. He's real good. You gotta love Duncan Robinson. Maxi Kleber. There's a name for you. Help the big man rotation out a little bit. I don't mind Maxi on the books this year and next year for around $9 million. Not terrible. Don't hate it.
Bad.
Fit him into the TPE. Dwight Powell is another one. Bring him back to Boston.
Dwight Powell.
Mm-hmm. Kenrich Williams. You throw a first or a second.
What team is he on? I know. What is he on?
I'm gonna let you ponder it. What team would love a pick, Sam?
Who?
What team would love a pick for any of their players?
Oh, OKC.
Yeah,
or Houston.
Yeah, I mean, he's
the guy with the mullet. That's how I know who it is.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
I really like me some Kenrich Williams. They call him Kenny Hustle. So I mean, talk about Boston averaging 7 points, 46.5% from the field, 38% from deep, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal. He just does a little bit of everything. You know, he's a wing player. Only 20. I mean, he's 27 years old, so he's not like too old, not too young. I just like him. I really like Kenrich Williams, and I think he's under contract too. So, excuse me, not a bad guy. Not a bad guy you can bring around. But that's about it. Austin Reeves also on the list. Again, just another guy I'm going to keep bringing up because a minor. I told you so. Since it's, you know, I can have the platform to bring it up. I on draft night was I or was I not saying please God Celtics sign Austin Reeves? I was preaching Austin Reeves, but anyways, that's all I got. And I bet you're still probably stuck on Duncan Robinson.
PJ Washington is by far my favorite on that list.
Yeah. So what would you give up for PJ though? And I'll act as the Hornets in this deal. We can have a mock negotiation, Sam, and we'll play this.
Well, they definitely don't need guards because they've got LaMelo and Rozier.
Well, they don't really have a good, like, yes, they have Rozier and LaMelo, but they usually start together. And past that, they just have, like, Ish Smith off the bench, who's been fine. But they could use with another guard, so I wouldn't
they
say
don't want
that, but,
Schroeder. I don't know.
you'd be surprised. I mean, maybe they would take, like...
I would put Schroeder in there. I mean, obviously, he's number one to trade.
Yep. Maybe, like...
got...
I don't know. They'd probably ask for, like, one of your big men, like Grant. They might ask for Grant, but I wouldn't do that.
I don't know
obviously.
if I'd do Grant. Kind of defeats the purpose.
I agree. I don't think they'd take, like, a Romeo or a Nesmith either. They really need a center, is what they need.
Well, they can have
think the Celtics have
big man freedom. They have Bruno.
I don't think they'd be interested in any of those guys.
Perhaps Al Horford, and they throw Hayward back.
I don't know about that one either. I don't think they'd be interested. Hayward's been really good for them.
I know he has.
Yeah, funny how that happens, right? Yeah, no, I don't know. PJ would be interesting. I don't think Boston's the place that he'll end up going, though. I do think he might end up being traded, but I don't think.
I can't wait for it to be for like 2 second-round picks.
I don't think it'll be that either. But I think they're going to look to make a bigger splash. I'd say. I think they really like Turner, in Charlotte. I don't really know past that. They might make a run at Nurkic.
That's one they should really go after, to be honest with you. I mean, Portland's probably going to be a fire sale. I'm calling about Robert Covington. If he's not like sidelined with some injury that I don't know about.
No, he's. I'm pretty sure he's good.
Calling about Norman Powell.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of John Collins, Sam?
I like John Collins, but he's probably expensive.
But like, what would you give up for John Collins?
I'd probably give up. It's tough. Like, I might give up Smart, but if you give up Smart, you have to keep Schroeder. You have to keep him, and you have to play him the minute you're playing him, and you have to deal with when you think he's holding the ball too long or whatever.
Yep. But in fairness, I mean, as much as we love Smart, you do deal with that with Smart every once in a while as well. So it's not like
it's gotten much better.
It has. But I'm saying, like, if they call and say, "Hey, we want Marcus," like because John Collins isn't happy anymore.
I would take John Collins. Make sure big man rotation a little bit better. Gives you some tough decisions though. I think if you do that, you have other moving pieces too. Like, you're going to be sending some big man somewhere for someone to fill in as point guard.
Yeah, I mean, you could get, you could ask for Delon Wright back and give them something else too.
No, like someone to actually like start for you.
But I don't think there's that on the market right now.
It's a problem. It's tough.
I mean, if you wanna, if you wanna get real fancy about it, and I've seen this somewhere. You trade Marcus and whoever else, like Schroeder and something else. You give it to Dallas. You get back.
You get Luka.
Shut the fuck up. You get back like a Kleber and someone else for salary, and you get Jalen Brunson. I really like Jalen Brunson.
He's been a pain in the ass every time he. But if you bring in Jalen Brunson, here's the problem: is
you have to extend him.
The problem is he plays as a scoring guard.
No, he averages an okay amount of assists. And you have to also take into account that he's playing next to one of the best playmakers in the NBA.
That's fair.
So he doesn't really have the chance to play make. It's like the same thing. Like, you put Marcus Smart next to Kyrie, Kemba, Isaiah Thomas, and like all these ball dominant guards. He's not exactly going to average 30 assists a night. You know what I'm saying? So you put anybody next to Luka, anybody next to LeBron, their assists are immediately going to go down, right? That's how I see it, at least. I saw something today that something along the lines of the Celtics getting Eric Gordon in exchange for I don't even know, for Schroeder and Juancho, which
I would do that. I would do that in a heartbeat.
I don't.
Is his contract up after the season?
No.
That's another big contract you're gonna have though. That's a problem.
Yes, and I also don't know if that's financially possible. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I'm 90% sure Eric Gordon makes $18 million.
No, he definitely does, because he can't fit in that TP.
He makes 18 this season, 19.5 next season, and then what I think is a non-fully guaranteed.
How long is this man's contract? I feel like we've been like talking about him for years now, and he's not like been playing.
Yeah, no,
like he's been making all this money, and like it feels like this contract's just never ending.
Yeah, because I think he signed extension or like a 4-year extension, like a year ago or something, or 2 years ago. But excuse me, I want to test to see if this works because I don't know why it would, unless maybe the Rockets have enough cap space to take it into their books without it. And the logic I saw was, yeah, you'd only need to make up $3 extra million at that point. So you lob him. Could you lob him Bruno? I don't think so.
Romeo.
No. Oh, wait a second. If this works, you're about to have a new favorite trade idea, Sam. Let me take a look here.
I mean, he's old.
He is older. He's 33. So he's not like 90, but he's getting up there. I understand. Sam, the money works. If you send Juancho, Dennis, and Ennis Freedom to the Rockets.
Oh yeah.
You can can get yourself an Eric Gordon. And the thing I saw was I forget where even I saw this. It might have been Keith Smith, but if it wasn't, then I apologize and you can ignore that. The thing I saw was someone saying you might not even have to give up a pick because you'd be eating a lot of salary for the Rockets, who could then use that salary elsewhere.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you could,
talk about free. Talk about free though.
Is it really like I'm not sure I really want Eric Gordon for 2 seasons.
Really? That efficient shooting, dude?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I can commit to that. Like I think if they're gonna make any move,
well, 1 season and then the next season isn't fully guaranteed.
Still, like if they're gonna make a move, they need to. I think they need to let summer come along if it's gonna be a big move that's gonna tie up their money for a while, and see what they can do before they tie themselves up.
Yeah,
this season is not worth salvaging your future for. Like, I'm sorry, it's not. They haven't played well enough. They're 1 game over 500 in January. Like, it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm. His contract the year after next year isn't guaranteed if he's not waived by June 28th, 2023. So if they could theoretically waive him, and it's not fully guaranteed. But I don't know how that works in full.
It just depends what they want to do. It depends if they think they can make a move where they would have to trade a lot of people to bring in a big contract. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. I think you really want to be able to evaluate all your options in the summer and see.
Hey, I mean, all I'm saying, 45.5% from 3 is pretty intriguing to me.
That's pretty remarkable.
On 5 threes a game in 38 games. I mean, it's just good. He's averaging 15 points, 3 assists on that shooting, 50% from the field too. Like, I mean, talk about a guy you'd want on the Celtics. And I can't imagine his usage rate's very high. Like, I have to imagine most of those are catch and shoot.
Right.
So, I mean, you always say, Sam, shooting is one of those things that rarely goes away with age. I say rarely because
I agree.
It's right in front of your face, but I don't know.
Nope,
I wouldn't mind that.
I stand by that.
Hey, if it comes to it and the Rockets want to get off his contract and they said, hey, we just want to get off the money. And
I mean, that is a steep price.
Shut up. I'd give them, I'd give them first as well on top of that, but I don't think
first.
You said picks don't matter though.
They don't matter, but you can use it somewhere else.
All right, so who are your top trade options? I'll tell you mine first.
Well, if you're doing that, it's like up there, but I'm not like in a hurry to.
I know, but in the grand scheme of things, if you could make it work, I think a trade with the Mavericks for Jalen Brunson and Dorian Finney-Smith or Maxi Kleber or whatever, I'd love that.
I'm not giving up Smart for that. I'm sorry, I'm not.
I probably would if you could get Brunson somewhat long term. It would depend on if you can get Finney-Smith and Brunson long term because they both need to be extended. John Collins as well intrigues me. I don't think
that's like one of the few people I'd trade Smart for.
Mm-hmm. I think he's probably. Go ahead. Sorry.
We talked about this last time with Jimmy. Like, Smart's like the only guy that consistently cares. That means a lot more than
his
stats, whatever you want to like whatever you want to throw at me, saying like he's not good, can't shoot, takes
I'm not
bad
saying
shots,
he's not good.
whatever. Like he gives a shit. He goes out there, he works his ass off every time.
Yeah,
dives on the floor. Like you don't get that all the time anymore. That's important.
And I'm not saying he's not good. You know that. You know I think Smart's
but
awesome.
there are other people that will.
Of course. I'm just
there
saying
are probably people that would
get...
are like he's crazy. He doesn't want Jalen Brunson for that. Like,
yeah.
But there's like
I think
he cares. Like you cannot put a price on that.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
it's
John
20
Collins,
million, but
I think John Collins ends up in Dallas or somewhere like that. Dallas is rumored to be interested in him and Miles Turner. So we'll see how that works out. I don't know. That'd be intriguing to say the least. Before we get out of here, I did want to touch on one thing that I saw today, not Celtics related. I just thought it was entertaining. I wrote an article today that said recent NBA rumors reveal the Philadelphia 76ers incompetence, I think was what I titled it. Rumors came out today that they're not interested in John Collins in a Ben Simmons deal. They're not interested in Russell Westbrook or John Wall in a deal to get them off of Harris's contract and trade Simmons. And they're not interested in De'Aaron Fox for Ben Simmons. What do they, and the list of players, they're quote unquote waiting for is Beal, Lillard, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't understand what they think Simmons' value is anymore.
for Ben Simmons. If
what
I'm
do
the
they
Blazers,
think his value
I might
is
do
anymore?
It. If I'm the Blazers, I might do it.
But they're not. My point is they're not, because they've said they're building around Dame. Dame said he wants to stay there. They're not trading him right now, at least, and whatever you can wait however long.
And Dame is a far superior player to Ben Simmons.
Yes, my point. He's also 35, and asking for another max contract at the end of this one.
Lillard? I mean, he's not that old yet, but he will be at the end of this contract.
How old is Lillard right now? 32?
Lillard's like 30-ish.
Lillard's 31. Turns 32 at the end of this season. And then he's asking for another max contract after this one that would pay him over $50 million a season.
Oh, I've been on this. I've been saying, like, when like he was like being thrown around with the Celtics, I don't want any part of that. Yeah. He is a smaller guard, not smaller, like, but he's a point guard that relies on athleticism to be good. And he's getting up there in age. I say shooting doesn't go away, but athleticism sure does.
I don't think Lillard relies on athleticism too much.
I think it's a big part of his game. He has to be quick.
He'll be 34 years old or 35 years old and asking for another max contract, which is a bit absurd.
Yeah, absolutely not.
But my point is the Blazers aren't trading him. And at what point does Joel Embiid say, Daryl Morey, what the fuck? Get me more help.
Once they dip below 500. When they're not
but even still,
teams.
Like, I understand
the supporting players aren't playing well. Like, they do not need Ben Simmons. They don't. Like,
but my point
understand if they gave him up and got more pieces in return, then they could improve.
They could be a championship level team.
But like, they're
100%.
Sixers are fine.
Fine is one thing.
And I respect the hell out of Daryl Morey for doing this.
My point is, and I agree with you, the fact that Ben Simmons is sitting, like, whatever, obviously you want to improve your mental health. You can believe it or not believe it, whatever. My point is you have one of arguably the best trade assets in the NBA. You have assets to make this team, elevate it from a quote-unquote fine team, like you just said, to a championship-level team. And instead you're going to waste 3 to 4 years of Joel Embiid's prime to prove a point. That's stupid. That's incompetent. I'm sorry. That's dumb. And it's fine, we want to wait for this player. We want to wait for this player. You're not interested in De'Aaron Fox? You're telling me that's not one of the best possible assets
for me. Like, why would
what
they
is
not
wrong
go
with
for
you?
It? No.
Even Collins.
I'm talking about
I know. Even Collins isn't terrible. Like, even Collins, you trade Ben Simmons for
Collins. I'm probably going to hold out for a little bit more because we're talking about trading Marcus Smart for Collins. I mean,
I know, but no, not just Collins. Obviously, you get other pieces as well in that trade and picks. I just think, and the fact that they're like, oh, we don't really want to like they're trying to throw Tobias Harris out there as well. Like, you're a mess. Like, you're just a mess. I'm sorry. Like, wow, it's
insane that they decided to keep Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler
on that I don't even know. I don't know if it was as simple as that.
I think it kind of was. They had one max deal. And they gave it to Tobias Harris.
I know there were other internal issues, but definitely questionable decision making to say the least. Tobias Harris making $36 million this year, 38.4 the next year, 40.9 the next year. Woof. There's nothing else to say, but yeah. Anything else you wanted to say before we get out of here?
Zion is still fat. Did not play today. I'm not sure he plays again.
Ever?
Yeah. No, I'm not joking. Like, literally, we talked about this last time. Tell me a player that's recovered from being fat.
I don't know. And obviously, like, we've seen the pictures. Pictures are obviously deceiving, right? You remember the picture that went around
Harden.
of James Harden, then he was slimmed right up. So you don't actually know. Obviously, you hear all the reports.
See, the difference between Harden and Zion is, like, Harden's was all, like, in his torso. Zion has a fat face and a fat neck.
Jesus.
And fat arms.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's the type of player that could get away with being a little bit overweight.
No, he can't. He relies on, like, his athleticism getting hurt.
He also relies on bully ball, though. I'm not saying, like, grossly overweight. Like, obviously, the numbers you've heard rumored are bad. But, like, if he's, like, 280, like, fine. Like, obviously, you'd want a 6'6" guy with that sort of build to be what? 250?
He's gonna get him. He's gonna hurt himself. I'm telling you. Like,
he has hurt himself.
Well, he's not even playing. That's what I'm saying. He's hurting his feet. He's not even playing.
I know. I agree. I think
foot problems are no joke.
Yeah. I think saying he'll never play again is maybe a stretch. I think you'll see him eventually, but I understand the sentiment behind it at the very least. But yeah, anything else? Is that
no? Gotcha. Would love to see some more wins from the Celtics. They have 6 winnable games ahead of them.
Yes, they do. Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Let us know if you want to hear us talk about anything else. Throw up a comment on one of the Bannertown articles, tweet at us at Bannertown USA, stuff like that. Happy to talk about any topics you guys bring up. Right now it's a lot of trade talk and general Celtics, I don't want to say propaganda, but hype right now because they're winning. But, you know, send us some trade target ideas, send us stuff to react to. Yeah, there you go.
Chicago was great, but they still were down a bunch of guys.
Anyways, yeah, thank you guys for listening. You guys can follow me at Jack Simone NBA. Follow us at Bannertown USA. And yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening or watching. However you are consuming this, we appreciate it very much. We have a lot of fun making these shows. We are over 10,000 total listens now, which is a big milestone for us. We've been doing this for almost 2 years now.
Yes, sir.
So it's starting to go up quicker the longer we do it. You can follow Jack at Jack Simone NBA. You can follow Bannertown at Bannertown USA. You can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's our show.
Tic-tac-toe.